communists in general, they do realize that they're trying to win hearts and minds in Poland, and they use the old carrot and stick method. So naturally, as in any communist society, terror is one of the methods, but they do try to sway opinion as well with new infrastructure projects, and there is a number of projects that are built in Warsaw in those 10 years or so between the end of the war and probably the main one is the reconstruction of Old Town itself and the royal route which leads from Old Town and goes up to the city center. That project is more or less finished by 1953, so it was an 8-9 year process that was back-breaking, but very impressive, as Warsaw's Old Town looks practically identical to how it looked like before the war. Another project that they build, and in one way is, you could say, a response to, because again, rebuilding Warsaw's Old Town means that you bring back a lot of Baroque architecture, very bourgeois, not really anything you would associate with social realism. So there is another project which is at Constitution Square, or Plac Konstytucji in Poland, the so-called MDM area, which is built in this very typical, brutal, but at the same time grandiose.
Sort of what I would call totalitarian classic.
Yes, absolutely. And in some cases, it doesn't always look that bad.
Actually, yes. If you go to Plac Konstytucji now, it's not actually, surprisingly, it's not actually unattractive. But I suppose that's looking at it from the safe point of 2023 and not 1953 or 54 or whatever.
Absolutely.
But those buildings they have their own particular attraction.
They do.
And they're not quite as brutal as the equivalent ones in Moscow, where in Moscow the streets are just too wide.
Yes.
And it's designed, architecture, I think, designed to make people feel insignificant deliberately. Everything is just slightly the wrong scale. It's slightly intimidating.
Yes, and speaking about streets and roads, another big project is the so-called VZ route, or WZ route, west-east in Polish. It is basically a major thoroughfare, but it goes under Old Town. So there is this tunnel that is built under Old Town and leads toward the Vistula River. Also a huge engineering task that took quite some time to build. Another one, probably the ones that tourists to Warsaw remember the most, the so-called Palace of Culture, or Stalin's Palace, depending on how.
A marvellous example of totalitarian classic Bablique stroke Gothic. So I'm sure architects are going to ring in and say, I got my styles completely wrong, but you know exactly what I mean when I say that.
Yes, a little bit of Gothic, some Art Deco, clearly inspired also by the Art Deco skyscrapers of New York City, whether the Chrysler Building or Empire State. Naturally also modeled on the so-called Seven Sisters from the Soviet Union.
And it is a huge building. I mean, if you go inside, there are areas which are just, you don't realise they exist, just these huge reception rooms.
Absolutely enormous. And there is this debate that has been going on in Poland at least since 1989, at least in public since 1989 and the fall of communism, whether this symbol of Soviet power should be torn down or not. There is a bit of a precedent, as during the partitions, the Soviets built an enormous Orthodox church on what is today Piłsudski Square. And the Poles, after regaining independence, they quickly tore it down. It was enormous, but not as big as the Palace of Culture. The costs of tearing it down would be.
The Palace of Culture, of course, is the way the sort of footprint in the city took. The whole heart of that part of the city, streets disappeared.
Yes.
Or, streets like Chmielna sort of stops, and then several hundred meters further on it restarts. But it's been interrupted by this huge presence.
those that don't live in Warsaw might not use it and simply just go around it, but those that want to take a shortcut, it's always possible to just go straight through the building in case you want to save a few hundred meters. So that is one advice I might have for people.
Even I hadn't realised that.
Yes, but right now the building, it certainly needs a cleaning. That is for sure.
Adam, as usual, the clock in the corner of the room is showing that we've run out of time, but we'll pick it up next time. So thank you. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not. If you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story and continue our examination of the history and modern development of Warsaw. Thank you for watching.